Hello, everybody. I'm back, and allegedly they fixed my internet, so fingers crossed. So I just wanted to talk about this a bit because this is a new level of insanity, and once again, I don't like the precedents that are being established as we keep going through this whole thing. Because once again, I don't think we're gonna like where they go, and they're kind of getting worse almost by the day at this point in time. And once again, I don't. But that's that. I mean, we're living in the rules-based international order, um, where Israel can just attack Qatar or use neutral countries' airspace or do whatever it wants. And I guess Ukraine is also part of that, where they can just as part of the international rules based order, they can apparently just attack neutral shipping now. So, the precedent that Zelensky is saying here, and we're going to just take a closer look at this, but if what he's saying is correct, and you are at war with countries that are supplying weapons to your opponent, and those are legitimate targets, then by his logic, Russia is free to hit American shipping. If American or European shipping is transporting weapons to Ukraine, then Russia has the legal right to do that. And I mean, I guess Russia could actually attack China too, because China is selling drone parts to the EU. But yeah, let's take a look at this because once again, I don't think we're gonna like where this line of logic leads. I mean, wasn't this whole war about like freedom of the seas, about safety for international shipping? And now Ukraine is just attacking random ships. So let's see here. Okay, so Zelensky. Okay. So let me just see where this is. So Ukraine has attacked a. One second. There was less of that there than I thought. By the way, is there anything faker or gayer than the international rules-based order? I'm not really sure. It's pretty high on the list. I mean, obviously, the entire point of this is to try to merge the two wars together. Like I said, Ukraine is trying to join the Judeo-Christian coalition in their war against Iran. So I guess the Judeo-Christian coalition now is America, Ukraine, and Israel. So that's something. Let's see here. Just trying to find the okay, so yeah. Ukraine announced on Saturday that its long-range attacks had targeted vessels in the Caspian Sea, which were being used to transport military cargo between Iran and Russia. Iran says that one of the targeted vessels was an Iranian commercial ship, and that one sailor was killed and several others were injured in the attack. Now, most people would say that this is some sort of, this is basically an act of war, militarily attacking ships. We have a cope, ladies and gentlemen. Iranian government news said the Islamic Republic will firmly defend its security and national interest. It will not leave attacks on the lives and property of its citizens unanswered. Let's see here. Some Iranians have been calling for retaliation using the country's ballistic missiles. I mean, in my opinion, Iran would be completely justified if they wanted to start firing ballistic missiles at Ukraine. I mean, I don't think it's a good idea just because they kind of need them to fight on the other front of the Judeo-Christian coalition's special military operation. But let's see here. In unofficial comments posted online, okay, I like how under Euronews we're just using the comment section on random Iranian government videos as evidence of, I don't know, government policy. Several users criticized the foreign ministry's weak diplomacy. One widely shared comment read, "As long as this weak diplomacy remains in government, every fox will see itself a lion against us. Uh, Iran should demonstrate its deterrence." Here's my question: how did the drone get from Ukraine to the Caspian Sea? I mean, let's just take a look here. So, I guess the obvious way would be through Russia. Hopefully, it didn't go through a neutral country like Georgia or Azerbaijan. That would be really bad. But once again, we live in the rules based international order, so it would probably be okay. Let's see here. Some people are saying that they should intervene in the Black Sea against Ukrainian shipping. I mean, once again, I think that that would be completely justified. In this case, if they did want to do that, I probably wouldn't because I think it's too. It's just not a good use of resources. Let's see. Russia and China will not give weapons to Iran. Moscow will not sell weapons to Iran. Okay. So let's take a look at what the Green Goblin himself had to say. Uh, President Zelensky rejected Ukraine's claim of non-involvement in the war, pointing to its military support for Russia. His comments came after Tehran warned that Ukraine's strike on an Iranian vessel in the Caspian Sea cannot go unanswered. So once again, I mean, is this a precedent we really want to be setting? Because by this logic, Russia is free to attack any member of the collective West shipping whenever it wants. Um, it's an interesting thought. In an interview with Sky News, Zelensky was asked whether he concerned about a potential Iranian response to the maritime attacks. He said, "What do you expect if Iran transferred new technologies to Russia from the first year in the war? These were Shahed drones. They transferred thousands of these drones in the first year of the war. Then they issued licenses. What did they do? Did they attack us? I think so." Now, once again, keep in mind that America, and we know this has been providing satellite targeting data to Ukraine, which is what's allowing them to do these deep strikes inside of Russia and attack the warehouses and other targets. Is basically directly coming from the U.S. Satellite data. Iran said the strike caused the explosion on board what is described as a commercial vessel, killing one sailor and injuring another. The Iranian foreign minister condemned the operation as a hostile and criminal act and summoned Ukraine's ambassador to lodge a protest. So let's see here. They claimed it was military cargo. Um, so if something is carrying military cargo, I guess that means you could just, yeah, that's interesting. Um, uh, So once again, the argument is that because the Garen 2 is based off of the Shahid, that means that Ukraine has an unlimited right to attack neutral shipping. Zelensky said Ukraine should avoid actions that could open an additional front. I mean, that is basically what they're doing here. The Iranians and the North Koreans have already attacked us. He said he would hope that the two countries would not expend their involvement, but he's going to attack them. So, uh, the Iranians provided weapons. Once again, this is going to be the new standard, I guess. That you can attack anyone who has like a business relationship with any side in a war. So I'm just gonna say this like once again, Iran, don't don't come to any agreement with these fucking tools. Like I don't know, it's just the behavior is just so fake and gay. Um I don't really know what else to say about it to be honest. Like I'm tired of the rules-based international order. I'm tired of the signing agreements and then immediately tearing them up. Like if we want to argue that if we want to argue that lost my train of thought there, that this is just pragmatism and anyone would do the same thing in the same situation, that's fine, but can we stop the whole like this is about international law, this is about the freedom of the seas and stuff like that, because it's clearly not. And Ukraine's been attacking Russian shipping in the Mediterranean and all kinds of other places. In another era, that would be piracy or unrestricted warfare or something like that, but that doesn't really matter. So I guess the moral of the story is if you're allied with the US, um nothing applies to you. I mean, Israel is it like uses, I guess they, if they're attacking Iran, I guess they use Syria, Iraq's airspace without their permission, probably Jordan's as well. Um, they were allowed to attack Qatar, and that was fine. They could blow up embassies and that sort of thing. The other thing I just wanted to address is this whole like Iran is the number one state sponsor of terrorism. Um, Basically, how they arrive at that is if you consider Hezbollah, the Houthis, and to a certain extent Hamas as just being terrorist organizations, due to their size, uh, it would technically be the case, but I would argue Hezbollah is not terrorist organization or not just a terrorist organization. I mean, they're a political party. They provide social services. They have their own semi-professional military, um, and stuff like that. Like the Kurds were not considered to be terrorists during the Syrian civil war when they formed their own militias to defend their community. Also, if you go through and you start looking at the list of like Iranian supposed terrorist attacks, most of them have taken place in the Middle East against military targets, like against U.S. military targets. Oftentimes, when America's occupying countries without their permission, or against Israeli military targets. The ones that they've done in the US, for the most part, have been attempts to assassinate dissidents, which I'm not going to say that's not a violation of America's sovereignty, but trying to assassinate a dissident who's actively trying to undermine your government in exile, I don't think is the same thing as what we normally think of when the term terrorism comes up. Like, I think that the term terrorism to most people is stuff like what ISIS and Al Qaeda does. Stuff like the Crocus Hall shooting, the I forget what it is, the bombing in the UK, the bombings on the London and Spanish metros. the various bands of peace running people down. Stuff like that is, I think, what comes to mind when people think of terrorism. Indiscriminate attacks targeting non-combatants in order to spread fear and a political agenda. Whereas in the case of a lot of what Iran does, a lot of it is Iran does. I lost my train of thought there. What is Iran even shipping that is within range of Ukraine? It's across the Caspian Sea. Allegedly, Russia and Iran were shipping military goods back and forth. So it is, if you look at the Caspian Sea, it is technically within range. But yeah, like most of what Iran does is what I would consider semi-legitimate or fully legitimate attacks on military targets. I think they also attacked a Kazakhstani oil tanker as well. Um, but yeah, like as always, if people want to challenge me on this, like in the chat, if you think I'm being too much of an Iran shill, if you think I'm being too hard on America and Ukraine or whatever, like feel free. I'm perfectly willing to have a discussion about it. I just don't like this kind of behavior. I don't think it's good for the international system. I don't like when we just when the lines just get blurred between war and not war and who can attack who, what, where, when. I just don't think it's a road that we should want to go down. Um, Things are unstable enough. Well, Ukraine is just anti-Russia. So because Russia is allied with Iran, attacking Iran helps them hurts Russia. Now the other thing to keep in mind about this whole thing is Iran shut down an airliner in 2020. Maybe. Let me look that up. That could be the case. Let me see. Uh yes. Iran did allegedly shoot down let's see. Okay, so yes, the Iranian government did shoot down a Ukrainian plane, which I don't know. That's an interesting question. I will say that that is legitimate. Now, whether that was a deliberate shooting down of an airplane or a tragic accident, I'm not sure. Let's see here. Okay, so it looked like it was flying in Iranian airspace in the middle of a um missile exchange. So it says here 4 hours after the Iranian military launched retaliatory ballistic missile strikes towards uh, U.S. military air bases in Iraq in response to the assassination of Soleimani. So I guess the chain of events was Soleimani got killed. Iran launched ballistic missiles at a U.S. base, and then this flight was coming in or leaving at around the same time, and some radar crew managing an AA thought it was a cruise missile and shot it down. Um, so I don't know. If it was deliberate, if it was an accident, or what. I don't. If it was a deliberate shooting down, then I would say yes, that is an act of terror. If it was not shooting down, if it was not deliberate, then it was an act of negligence. Once again, like though, if we talk about, and I'll say something for the other side, when that girls' school got blown up, I don't think America deliberately was trying to blow up the girls' school. I don't think that that was the idea. I think they had bad intelligence, or I thought that they had a or old targeting data or something like that. I don't think they were deliberately trying to kill the little girls. Um, so it's just these things happen in war and they're tragic and they need to be investigated. But just from what little I'm reading about this, I don't know if this is necessarily a terrorist attack. Um, I don't know. If you want to say that that's like me shilling or whatever, I don't know. I just, these things happen from time to time in war and it's tragic, but it's not always like a deliberate attempt to kill large number of civilians. So that is that is my opinion on the matter. In that case though, is that even terrorism? That's not really terrorism. That would be something that would be a war atrocity committed by a state. But I don't know. I see this a lot and it's I just don't consider it to be the same thing. Also, you have the Houthis, and you can say the Houthis are a terrorist group or whatever, but they're uh, a side in a civil war. Like they have a government, they have a military, they're a state or quasi state actor. I just don't think that that's the same thing as ISIS members going into like the Crocus City Hall and just shooting people, or like people shooting up nightclubs, or going into or driving cars into crowds of civilians. So so I think what Zelensky and the Duran talked about this today, and I agreed with them, is what he's trying to do is he's trying to, because Trump isn't taking his calls anymore, and Trump's completely focused on the retardation that's going on in Iran. Um, he's trying to expand this thing and trying to make it also about make the special military operation part of the American special military operation. Um, F.E. Hart says they're an unrecognized state. Terrorist cells don't have a civilian administration. Yeah, I think they're a side in a civil war. Um, is Hamas a terrorist group? Uh, Hamas definitely uses terror. I don't know. I think there's a difference between a terrorist group, a group that uses terror in a state that commits war atrocities. Um, like Hamas is the government of the Gaza Strip, but they definitely were involved with suicide bombings and killing civilians and all kinds of other stuff. I don't know. I just don't think it's the same thing as Al Qaeda or certain groups of ISIS. You could argue maybe that when ISIS was holding territory, it would be like that, but I don't know. I just don't think it's the same thing. Uh, so what else was I? But I mean, if we're going to talk about ISIS, the U.S. gave ISIS a bunch of money. So I don't know. Once you get into state-sponsored terrorism, it kind of gets complicated. Like I also like I wouldn't consider the Rapid Support Forces to be a terrorist group either. They're a paramilitary, um, and they're a side in the Civil War. Do they probably use terrorist tactics? Terrorist tactics, yes, but I don't think I'd call them a terrorist group. Um, in the same way. The Sudan thing looks like it's going nowhere, to be honest. You know what is okay? A good example, in my opinion, of a terrorist organization was I agree with Trump that the cartels are a terrorist or terrorist organizations because they use violence against civilians as a way to achieve political objectives. Um, like when El Chapo got arrested or El Mencho and stuff, they just went on a killing spree and blew a bunch of stuff up and shut down highways. So I would consider that to be a terrorist action. But I don't know. I just there's been some things Iran's done. I think there was some Hezbollah linked group that was gonna do some attacks uh in New York who got caught. But no, just when you start, I guess there was that one like Jewish center or whatever that got targeted in Argentina. But for the vast majority of the cases, it's attacking military or or state targets within the an active war zone. So okay, so yeah, it looks like the passengers were mostly Iranian. The Sudanese civil war is actually kind of settling into an active stalemate at this point in time. Just if we want to do a brief update on that, because I've been following this decently close. So the situation's actually changed a lot in the last 6 months or so, because it looked like the Sudanese armed forces were going to be able to split apart the RSF and decisively defeat them and break them off into pieces. But the Rapid Support Forces seem to have been able to take all the like isolated pockets and salients, and now they have a contiguous group of territory. Now, the I was looking this up. So, the Sudanese Liberation Movement is a third party in the war who is not at war, not at peace with either the government or the Rapid Support Forces, and they're just kind of in they're just kind of trapped in a pocket where there's a lot of ongoing starvation and general suffering. So, and the RSF have allowed a lot of refugees to go there for the purposes of getting them out of their area. But yeah, it also looks like if we go and take a look at uh, the totals list, it looks like the RSF has been doing a lot of conscription in the areas it's occupied. Like when they started out this war, they only had about 100,000 people, and now estimates have them up to 400 to 450,000. So it looks like they are have a they now are almost at par with the Sudanese army. Now the Sudanese army has stuff like tanks and aircraft and stuff like that, but It's kind of bizarre in this part of the world, just how bad the infrastructure is. Let me see here. South Sudan. So, like during the second, trying to find this the Sudanese. Just trying to find the no, it's not Darfur. Is it the nomadic conflicts? Just trying to find it. Yeah, there's the war in Darfur. Uh, Second Sudanese Civil War. Yeah, so during the Second Sudanese Civil War, despite the area being actually massive, I forget how big Sudan actually is, but despite the front line between North and South Sudan being just completely being gigantic, only a couple tens of thousands of soldiers were fighting at any given time. Let me see here. Like, let me see. Where is the trying to see on this where the oh, okay, there we go. So like if you look at the front line of the South Sudanese War of Independence, the front line is longer than the width of the country of France. Uh and there was like maybe 20,000 Sudanese government and 20,000 southern Sudanese uh soldiers there. Like that's nothing. Like 20,000 is minuscule. See. Just trying to think what's the largest country in Europe? Or let's see. I think Ukraine is. I think Ukraine's bigger than France. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, so yeah. So the front line was about as long as the length of Ukraine, and there was like only 20,000 dudes fighting there at any given time. The current territory that's controlled by the RSF is about the size of France. And there's only a couple 100,000, so it's rough. Now, if you want to see the most bizarre one, let's take a look at Myanmar. Okay, so Myanmar is, I think, about the size of France. Burmese. By the way, Myanmar and Burma have the same root word. They both refer to the largest ethnic group within the country. Um, so they aren't even really like a different name. Also, on Sun Suu Kyi, or however you pronounce her name, said that there is no formal name of the country. So the Tat Madawa, Madaw, can never remember how to pronounce it. Tatmadaw. I always pronounce it Tatmadaw, which I know is Tatmadawa. Actually, let me look it up how you pronounce that out loud. The Burmese military is actually tiny.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better. So pronunciation, Tatmadaw.
Tatmadaw.
Tatmadaw.
Tatmadaw. Okay, there we go. So the Tatmadaw is actually very small. If you look at the number of active troops that the that the Burmese army has, there's like, I think barely 100,000 that are actually in the field. Like the active personnel at any given time is only like 100 to 300,000. But I mean, if you look at Burma, the internal conflict, okay, so the population of Burma is 56,000. It's about this, I think, about the size of France. But just trying to find a decent picture. Okay. So the conflict looks in Burma looks like this at the moment. Wherein most of the country is controlled by random separatist groups. As you can see, the military largely can only control the major cities, and the roads between the major cities. The central part of Burma is fairly flat, which is like where the capital city is. And the rebels don't really have any heavy weapons. So they can't really attack the military strongholds in the center of the country, because the military has tanks, artillery, and aircraft. And if they were to move out into the open plains with light infantry, they would get slaughtered. Um, but yeah. Uh,
Oh. The military of Myanmar. Here are more videos on how to pronounce more. Pronunciation, Tatmadaw.
I think Tatmadaw um is the same name it had when it was a kingdom. I think it means grand military or royal military. Yeah, royal armed forces. So it's not very big. Um they just don't really have the stuff in order to the ability. Let's see here. Okay, what is the motto? If you're brave, you won't die. If you die, hell won't come to you. What kind of an expression is what kind of a motto is that? I don't know. Maybe it makes more sense in Burma. Yeah, the main capital city, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce it, but it's a completely planned city, kind of in the middle of an open plain. That is almost impossible to attack. So no, Nepal's capital, if I recall, is Kathmandu, unless they've changed the name of it since the communists took over. But do they have multiple militaries, like militias or paramilitaries that support the? Not really. There's a couple that side with them, but the weird thing about the Burmese army is the the previous coup happened basically over nothing. Like most of the time when coups happen, there's some sort of reason for it. Like Pinochet seized power because there was a general strike. Um, there was a general strike. There was a massive uh, economic crisis. Allende was arming militias and stuff like that. And the Supreme Court and Congress asked Pinochet to step in and restore order. So there was a massive crisis. In the case of Franco, he carried out his coup because the communist government was killing just random priests and stuff, and the country was descending into anarchy. In the case of the Myanmar coup, there was no proximate cause for it. They just wanted to regain power. So there was no real legitimacy or um popular base of support. Like I don't think the military in Myanmar really does not have any popular support to my understanding. They um they don't really have any popular support. They just kind of maintain power through force. But unlike a lot of there's not like a large conservative population that support like there's not really a net like a lot of the conservatives in the country don't even support them. It's not like in Chile where like 40% of the population supported Pinochet. In Burma, it's probably like 15% of the population supports them. It's not very many. But yeah, like there are some groups that are allied with the government, but then there's a bunch that are against it. I don't know. Burma is just a complete and total disaster. Okay, if we look at like the government aligned ones, none of them seem to be very big. There's just like a massive number of different anti-fascist international front, and it has like a Nazball-ish. What the fuck? Why is this listed? Okay, anti-fascist internationalist front, 15 to 40 dudes? What? Why is this even listed? They're just some random LARPers from like third party? Why are these organizations listed? 600? Zoland Defense Force. Is that kind of like Zooland? Finland Defense Force. In your last video, you said Trump is an existential threat to America. Do you actually believe that? Yes, I do. Um, the fertilizer issues that he has caused through this whole Strait of Hormuz nonsense might be able to might trigger another global refugee crisis. Now, I don't think it's as bad as what some people are saying, but it's definitely a possibility. But yeah, no, I think Trump is a danger. the American population. America at this point, I would definitely say so. I don't know what he's doing, and I don't know what he's gonna do. He's just so compromised and subservient to Netanyahu at this point in time. I'm just not sure really what to say, because I don't know if they're gonna escalate. I don't know if they're gonna do what's really good. To America. So a substantial portion of the world's fertilizer flows through the Strait of Hormuz, and it's impacted the growing seasons in a lot of parts of the world. Um, okay, sorry. Let me just take off my glasses, close my eyes, and try. Okay. So a lot of fertilizer goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So a lot of third world countries, particularly in Africa, are on the verge of constant starvation, and the populations there only manage to squeak by because of massive amounts of food aid from the developed world. So if fertilizer prices go up and become more scarce, there's going to be less food available for America and Europe to export to Africa, and it's going to cause starvation there, and it might cause a rave of refugees. That is the concern regarding it. So is that going to happen? I think some people are exaggerating with how bad it's going to get, but a lot of these places are constantly on the verge of starvation to begin with, and the loss of fertilizer does not help. Okay, trapped up to 60%, 50% of okay, that's actually more than I thought it was. Okay, so 50% of global urea exports and half of seaborne sulfur trade originates or gets processed in the Persian Gulf. Yeah, also natural gas, I think, is used to make fertilizer. So that's just not being exported. And in a lot of places, it's they're running short of fertilizer now, or the price is going to go. But if they simply close the borders to America, how will this affect the USA? Um, oh, sweet summer child, do you think they're going to turn away refugees? No, I mean, theoretically, this shouldn't be an issue if we had governments that actually defended the border. Um, it wouldn't be as big a problem, but they're going to let all these people in. And if Trump gets replaced by a Democrat, the Democrats will just let in whoever. And that's kind of the problem we have at the moment, where Trump has gone completely crazy and he started this catastrophic war with Iran that's only going to get worse and worse. But he did stop the refugee inflows. So if somebody does if he does get replaced by a Democrat in 2028, then they're probably going to bring in massive number of refugees. We won't see anything until January. That's when the majority of the world's fuel reserves come out. Yeah. I'm kind of curious, although I may be shuttered at. Okay, up to 30% of global fertilizer trade pass through the Strait of Hormuz. So just a correction, because someone brought this up. North America is self-sufficient between Canada and America in terms of energy and fertilizer. We produce enough here to meet our own needs. We also are net exporters of food. So we're not going to have like bread lines in North America. You're not going to have like gas stations not having gasoline. But what happens is when the price goes up, you have to when the price goes up, uh, you have to pay more domestically because so like a company that produces oil in the United States, if somebody in I don't know China is willing to pay more for it than the Americans are, then they will ship it from America to China. Now, in order to keep that oil in America, America is going to have to pay more for it than China. So we won't have shortages, but there will be price increases. And the price increases are going to go up a lot more than they already have. And that is part of the issue at the moment. Um, so I was going to ask a question. How do people think I compare to some other people when I do geopolitical analysis? Because I know I'm not like as professional or polished as like the Duran or Daniel Davis or some of the other people. Um, and I get that I'm not entirely professional. I think I do a decent job for somebody who does this as a hobby of covering things. I generally I only really talk about things if it I only really talk about stuff that I think I have something interesting to say about. So, but like I said, I don't think I'm as professional as some of the other people who do it, but I think I'm pretty honest when I'm trying to explain things. Just trying to find. Okay. Okay, so let me just pull this up. So I had put this together. Let me just see if it's let me just pull this up. By the way, for the if anyone has wasn't aware, the full version of Pal World came out, and I've just been playing a lot of that. Pal World's actually really good. I'm enjoying it. They if you played it before, the new release is worth it. Okay. I'm just gonna grab some water. I'll just be back in 1 sec. No, Pal World is completely out now. They added like a bunch of new areas. I could play it on stream sometime if people want me to play Pal World on stream. They like added a bunch of new areas. They added like 50 more pals in. They did a whole bunch of rebalancing. They filled out the tech tree. It's actually really good now. I would definitely recommend using mods to disable some annoying things. But anyways, okay. So this is what I put together for my video on the ticking time bomb. By the way, sometimes in the PowerPoints, if you see kind of like weird, you'll occasionally notice when I'm reading them, I'll read something and it'll say you or something like that. I do use ChatGPT to help me write some of the text on them. Generally what I'll do, and I do this like for reviews and stuff, is I when I'm watching the movie or whatever, I'll just be typing my thoughts into ChatGPT, and then at the end I'll just ask it to summarize it for me. So it's not exactly what I'm gonna say, but it gives me like an outline. I find AI, I think that the main use case I find for AI is it's very good at summarizing things and compiling things. It just needs good inputs a lot of the time. Anyways, where are we? So the Strategic Petroleum Reserve started out at um, over 700 million barrels. Initially, it was about that level under Bush, and it actually went up under Obama. So if we look at this, broadly speaking, it's been going down consistently over the last decade, the last, I guess, 20 years at this point in time. So, like when Libyan oil got cut off, they released a little bit of the oil reserve. Now, keep in mind that I don't think America gets much or any oil from Libya, but as we're talking about, when it comes to supply and demand, with with Libyan oil being taken off of the market, supply went down, but demand went the same. So, if you know anything about economics, if supply goes down and demand remains the same, then price goes up. So they release some of the oil to just temporarily increase supply till things would stabilize. Then after that, we had Congress just sold a lot of it off over time. Now, I didn't look too much into the specifics of why it was being sold off. I think it was a way to try to balance the budget or reduce the deficits. It was treated basically as like an asset. When the special military operation started and all the sanctions came off out um, against Russia, Biden released a bunch of it um, in order to cushion the fallout. Then there was a bit of a replacement, but keep in mind at the start of this whole conflict, it was at about, I guess, 60% of capacity. It was just over half. So Trump announced a whole bunch of barrels being like 100 million barrels being or something. Maybe it was 130. If someone can post in the chat how many Trump authorized, I can't remember exactly. But they announced a regular release of oil from the reserve for the duration of the war with Iran. So by the time that that is finished, which is predicted to be in October, um, we will be down to 243 million. No, it wasn't 400 million. It was let me just look this up. Um uh, okay, it was 172 million. Okay. So Trump authorized 172 million barrels of oil at the start of the war, which, if you look at how much there was, that's about, I think, around half, maybe like 40% or something. Trump authorized at the beginning of this, and it's just being dumped onto the market over time to try to reduce the shock to oil prices caused by the loss of the Strait of Hormuz. So, okay, is it on screen? Okay. Oh, is the graph not displaying? Press prices caused. Oh no, it's displaying. Okay, couldn't tell. Okay. So At the moment, the strategic reserve, as best as I can determine, is at 310, around 300 million barrels of oil. So the U.S. has burned through about a quarter of the strategic reserve since the war started. Now, and once again, take this with a massive salt mine. This is partially my research. This is partially having an AI kind of try to figure it out. If the war were to end tomorrow, it would still take a couple months. I've seen 90 days at a minimum start getting the oil flowing again, because they have to take the oil out of the ground, have to put it onto ships. The ships have to take it back to their countries of origin. They have to refine the fuel, and then they have to distribute the fuel, and that takes time. There's going to be a lag while it starts to make its way through the system again. So even if the war ends tomorrow, it's not like the oil that was not being exported is just suddenly going to all enter the market at the same time. It's going to take a little while to get that up and going. So I calculated that was about 30 million barrels. So when you think about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, you have to keep in mind that it's whatever the number is minus 30 million barrels to get the US out of this without a massive spike in prices. So when the current drawdown is going to end is in October at 243. So if it continues to deplete, aren't there still ships full of oil in the Gulf waiting for the war to end? I'm not sure. The shipping situation is weird. I'm not entirely sure how it's working. But yes, even if the ships are full of oil and they're able to go out, it still needs to go back to their country of origin, and it still needs to be refined and distributed. So it's still going to take a while, even if the ships are ready to go. Also, keep in mind that a lot of these ships are going to need serious maintenance and repairs because they've just been sitting around in the Gulf for like half a year at this point in time. So if we continue to withdraw oil at the current rate, the strategic reserve will reach 173 million barrels of oil in January. Now, it's important to keep in mind also when we're talking about the strategic reserve, it's not stored in tanks, it's stored in salt caverns, and you can't actually get all of it out. I think about 70 million barrels of oil are almost impossible to extract. And once you go below, I think it's about 20% or so, you start to run into major risks of the caverns destabilizing and collapsing in upon themselves. So that's why I kind of, by my calculation, January is kind of the point of no return. That's the last time in which uh, there will be enough oil left to safely restart without running out. Now, once again, as I said, it's not as if the strategic reserve was turned off tomorrow, it's not like the US is going to run out. But once they stop withdrawing from it, it's going to face pretty heavy price increases. Now, my concern, I talked about this in my last video, is this is Trump we're dealing with, so I could see him increasing the amount that they're withdrawing, particularly once we get closer to the election. I could see him just doubling or tripling what's going out at the moment to temporarily lower gas prices prior to the midterms. I don't think that is a weird take or is against Trump's nature to do something like that, and that could make the situation even worse. I do actually want to give a little bit of credit to Trump because I actually looked this up and it is a Trump W. Um, There is actually a lot more oil flowing into the United States from Venezuela now than there had previously. So I think it is at the highest level it's been in a decade. The US is now processing significant amounts of oil from Venezuela. Trying to see what it was. Let me see. Let me just look this up and get you a more exact number. Um, okay. So the US imports about 700,000 barrels of Venezuelan crude oil by the day. Um, Last year it was earlier this year, sorry, it was 300,000. So since they removed Madero, America has more than doubled the amount of oil that it's getting from Venezuela. Now, the amount of oil that they were importing from Venezuela in 2025 was about 100,000, and now they're importing about 700,000. So it did actually dramatically increase the amount of oil that they're getting from Venezuela. So, well, I think the whole thing was kind of a mess in terms of not having a plan. It did actually lead to an increase. Now, I don't know how much that is. Um, so it's about 12% of total US crude imports, which is not a lot, but I mean an extra 500,000 barrels of oil a day is it's extra oil. I mean it's something that they got. It does look like they are increasing the amount of oil that they're taking out of Venezuela. So, is it possible to get enough oil to offset the loss of Middle East? No, no, I do. I don't think it is. I'm just saying it did actually, to Trump's credit, the amount of oil did actually increase. I think the oil that was flowing to China moved over to uh, America. Okay, so before Madero was released, where it was captured, 80% of Venezuela exports went to China. Um, Now more and more of it is going to the US and Europe. American companies are moving in, and it does appear that they're increasing uh, extraction rates. So I will give Trump credit. It's not a huge portion of America's oil imports, but America did actually get some oil. It's not enough to offset, but better than nothing. Wacky Maduro was a political boost. Yeah, like I'm not on Team Maduro. I'm not on Team Chavez. Like screw Venezuela. My issue is just I don't think it was really well thought out. And there was no real transition plan, and I think the whole thing is still very difficult. Okay, so Kai Makata is saying Nick theorizes that BB did it because he thought it would be his only chance to do it before he was charged with corruption. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a large portion of this is Netanyahu, as soon as he stops being prime minister, is probably going to go to jail, maybe for the rest of his life. So the longer this war goes on, um, that. So what you're saying, Fe Hearts, is that America created this entire problem by sanctioning Venezuelan oil. The Venezuela had to export the oil then to China, which caused the current problem. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. Regardless, more oil is going to the United States. It's a W. Okay. Leonardo Barbarossa. Okay. What I mean by it being poorly planned is the operation itself was successful, but I just don't know if this thing is sustainable long term. Like, so my proposal at the time was what they should have done is Trump should have offered um to let the leadership, like the Central Party members, to go into exile and keep their Swiss bank accounts. There would be an amnesty for most people who served in the military, government, and police forces, and Venezuela would have a free and fair election, which the pro-U.S. candidate would win. And I think that's what the plan should have been. um like try to maintain stability but gradually transfer it over to a more favorable US regime, because I don't really know what's going to happen long term. So that was my proposal. Allow uh the leadership to go into exile with and pay them off. Amnesty for most people other than those who committed the most heinous crimes. An election that the pro U.S. party would win, and then hopefully transition to a a recovering Venezuela and just invest heavily. My issue is just there really wasn't a plan. So I don't know. People, am I making sense to people in chat? Um, I just like they put his vice president in power, but it's still going on. Like the Bolivarian Republic is still governing the country. But in the end, they just went for what was good at the moment. Uh, okay, but the Axis post 1945, like America rebuilt Japan pretty quick. Like Japan was under American occupation, but the Americans rebuilt it. You can like or dislike the post-war Japanese constitution, but Japan got a new constitution. It got an effective government. America gradually turned over control of it to it, and Japan became a prosperous country and a stable U.S. ally. Likewise, West Germany was rebuilt. Adenauer came to power, who I think is honestly one of the great leaders of the 20th century, Konrad Adenauer. And he largely restored Germany to something approximating a powerful country. Why does it concern the U.S. that they have democracy? Because an election would ensure that the pro U.S. party people would come to power, and it would look good rhetorically, and it would be hard for China and Russia and co to complain. Like the U.S. could have invited them to observe the election, because I mean it's the times they've had mildly free elections in Venezuela, the government's gotten completely felted. So I just was thinking it was a way of doing regime change. while looking legitimate. I don't think it's like in the case of Russia, even if there was no election rigging, Putin would still win with a massive majority. Venezuela is not like that. Um, my understanding, the government is hated by a large portion of the population. It hasn't delivered results really. By the way, everybody, good news. I took Rain to the vet today. The vet said that she was in pretty much perfect health, but she needs to put on some weight because she's become too skinny a kitty. So I'm gonna try to fatten her up a bit. I Leonardo, I get what you're saying. My point was more just I don't know how long the Bolivarian Republic is going to last. It has massive corruption and incompetence issues. So I just, I don't know. I just don't think that there's a long term plan. I guess that's just my point. I've been trying to feed her. She went on like a hunger strike for a week or two. I changed her food over and now she's eating a lot more. Good to know Kitty is okay. If cats can eat liver, give her some. Um, just be careful with giving animals liver. Liver is extremely high in vitamin A, and if you give them too much, it actually gets toxic. I'll probably go get her some chicken hearts. Rain goes absolutely insane over chicken hearts. It's like her favorite food. Yeah, I think Rain was about 3 pounds underweight. Like I said, I switched her food over. What was I gonna say? By the way, I recommend it. If you haven't tried it, the Kirkland uh cat and dog foods are really good. Rain was on uh the chicken and rice one for about 6 years. Uh and then yeah, like Leonardo, you can look it up. Like you don't have to just take my word for it. But that's the warning I found. Hearts are I think just kind of more muscle. Uh you can also feed them uh pig hearts actually. Once again, I'd look it up before you do it, but grocery stores will sell pig hearts for a couple of dollars. And you can cook those and give them to your animal. And that's generally speaking, I think, fairly healthy for them. It's just keep in mind meat is not complete nutrition. In the wild, like your cat or dog would be eating a lot more of the animal. So like the kibble that you have is designed to have between the ingredients and supplements and other stuff, everything that's needed for your cat to be healthy. The other stuff is just kind of a treat or some additional nutrition or something like that. So you don't want to give them too much because if your dog or cat was just subsisting off of like chicken hearts or something, it wouldn't work very well. But it's, I mean, they are meat eaters, so they can definitely have it. Yeah, for dogs, they might actually eat pig heart. I tried giving Rain pig heart and she didn't really like it. But I also have tried giving her eggs in the past. And she didn't really like that either. I'm pretty sure both cats and dogs can eat eggs fine. Um, yeah, dogs can eat eggs. You just don't give them all the time. Cats can eat eggs too. because they're animal protein, but they aren't always interested in them. Um, just a bit of advice: if you're giving your cat or dog meat, make sure you're cooking it first, because a lot of people talk about raw food diets or stuff like that, but cats or dogs are also just as susceptible to like parasites and salmonella and all the other things that raw meat has as humans do. So I'd recommend cooking it. Um, just make sure to not add any oil or seasonings. Boiling it works. What I tend to do is I have an air fryer. So I just dump the package of chicken hearts in my air fryer and run it. And then I give those to her. But just that's something to keep in mind, just because a lot of people seem to think that they should be eating raw meat because they eat it in the wild. But in the wild, dogs and cats and other animals are full of parasites. And it's a reason why they don't live nearly as long as domestic animals do. Like domestic cats can live to be up to like 20, whereas I think in the wild they live like a couple of years. So, someone asked about tuna. The thing to keep in mind about tuna is cats like it, but it's not complete. Um, it's not complete nutrition. It's just the like the meat of the tuna, like the heavy protein part. Doesn't include like the organ meats and the bones and the skin and stuff like that. Also, tuna is not what cats eat in the wild. I mean, it's high protein meat. It's not like it hurts them, but it's not complete nutrition. So yeah, not just oil, but other stuff like neon or rare earth materials. If you From my understanding, the number one most important thing when you're picking a cat food is that the first ingredient should be a meat of some kind. Chicken or salmon or turkey or something like that. Um, so like quail eggs, freeze dried chicks, raw bison, etc. I mean, I'm sure cat dogs could eat that, and I'm sure they'd like it. It's not really necessary. And once again, it's not complete nutrition. It's part of the animal. Another thing to keep in mind is what animal byproducts mean is it is the part of the animal that's not meat or organs. So byproducts are things like skin, tendons, like cartilage, I think, and stuff like that. I think some of the bones. So it's not like it's some weird chemical thing. It's just the rest of the meat that isn't really pleasant, ground up and mixed in. Uh, it's not like it's some weird like chemically treated chicken or something like that. But yeah, when I was in the Czech Republic, like everybody has dogs there. I think the Czech Republic might have the most dogs per capita. Oh no, okay, no, it's okay. It's not actually. Really? Okay. I thought that Czech Republic would be higher per capita. I know the Czech Republic I think has the most libraries per capita. And dogs are allowed in the libraries in the Czech Republic, so a lot of people take dogs with their dog with them when they go to the library, which is patrician and based in my humble opinion. Okay, Czech Republic is sixth. Okay, Czech Republic, about 40% of the population own a dog. Dogs are allowed in public spaces, restaurants, and public transit. So sometimes you'll hear the term cultural conservatism as opposed to social conservatism. Now, normally there is an overlap between them, but a country can be culturally conservative while not being socially conservative. So the Czech Republic is an example of a country that's culturally but not socially conservative. So the population there is overwhelmingly atheist. I think it is the highest rate of atheism on earth. But it also, the people there like traditional architecture. They don't like immigration. They don't like guilt, like white guilt. They're much more proud of their country. They like their national traditions. They're just not very religious um or on like social issues like abortion. I don't think they're very strong. But if you ever get a chance to like go to yes, Eastern Germany is another example of a place that's culturally but not socially conservative. Um is I think it's a good way to put it. Denmark is also like that to a certain extent. Um Denmark is not very socially conservative, but even the like left-wing party there is not very pro-immigration. And is more pro like assimilation. So there are some countries like that. There are countries that are both, like Romania is like that, but Russia's like that. But it is kind of interesting. By the way, if you ever go to Prague, get a chance to go to Prague, it's amazing. Prague feels like what we could have had demographics not changed the way they do. Prague is like it's clean, it's safe. You can go out at like 3 in the morning and there's functioning public transit. The people on public transit are like respectful. There's no random schizophrenic on the buses there. I saw like one homeless person the entire time I was there. It was just, let me see, is Prague considered very clean? Yes, very clean city. The seventh cleanest city in the world. Uh, there's lots of public parks, public transit. Like coming from Canada, it was really weird when I got on the subway there, and it was like clean. Like the seats looked nice. There wasn't any like garbage or spills everywhere, and the people were just quiet and they were minding their own business, and the train came on time, and it was weird. It was really weird coming from Canada. The Czech Republic is the porn capital of Europe. They're strongly protected. I mean, have you seen Czech women? um I mean, Czech women are very attractive. Have you ever visited the castle or the cathedral? Yes, I have. I visited both when I was there. Budapest is also a really beautiful city. Budapest was amazing when I was there. It's not as wealthy as Prague, but it's cool just because it's on the Danube, so the city is divided in half. Another kind of cultural difference I found um is when I was at the I'll answer that in a second. Um was I saying something about uh okay, when I was at the castle there, they had like Czech soldiers guarding it because I think also it's also the residence of the president. So like when I got there, the guys guarding it were like 6 foot tall Chads, like 6 foot tall, like fit Chads with assault rifles. And I'm like, wow, I'm from Canada. There's no like 4'10", like overweight lesbian brown women guarding it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I feel safe because you got like guys who actually look like they could take a terrorist out if they tried something. Um, anyone remember the like the when Trump got shot and there was like all like the tiny like out of shape brown women and stuff like that who were like not protecting him very well. It's just like you'd think they could find some like operators. Like they could have got like they could get some ex-Marines or some ex like special forces guys to be in the Secret Service. Like if I was the president, I'd want like a bunch of Chads protecting me. So but yeah, Prague Castle's beautiful. The cathedral there is beautiful. Something I thought was really cool was when I was in Hungary, in Budapest, they had a the pragmatic sanction. They also had the like the document. They also had the Treaty of Trianon and some other stuff, and you could just kind of see it. Uses a bunch of PMCs. I don't get like why can't they just use like I don't know. It's weird how generals and US officials will have like private security instead of like US soldiers. The other thing so one of the reasons why so the more female police officers a department has, the higher the rate of them shooting people because women can't like wrestle disorderly people down in the same way. Like if you have like big tough like dudes as police officers, um if there's like a guy who's doing trouble, you can kind of manhandle them or like wrestle them. If you're like a woman, you can't. So you have to rely on your taser or your gun to deal with it. And so you tend more to shoot and ask questions later. What is CTL plans? I just have to look this up. CTL. Coal to oh, okay, coal liquefaction. I mean, the US, I don't know if they really need that. They have a lot of normal oil. Also, there's just a lot of bullshit where they like where there's like liability and stuff like that. So cops can't manhandle people as much as they used to. And I'm not saying that police don't do brutality and they don't like unnecessarily attack people. But in a lot of cases, if they have some kind of flexibility, they can like pin the guy down instead of having to like shoot them. But now it's easier if they shoot the person legally than if they like. Now you do, there is a position for female cops. Um, Female cops are needed to deal with women. Like if you shouldn't be having male cop like as much as possible you should have female cops dealing with women, particularly if it involves having to like do pat downs or strip searches or something like that. The U.S. military has horrible retention rates outside of the special forces and officer class who carry the U.S. military from disaster overseas. Yeah, like DEI has destroyed um the Canadian military. Like I think in a recent case, like people from different African countries that had beefs were getting into like fights with each other. Like I know multiple people who have tried to get into the Canadian army and were rejected. Like it is brutally difficult to get in if you're like a white male. So and these people were in good shape too. Like they were in decent shape. Uh I could vouch for them being intelligent and competent, but they won't let them in a lot of cases. So, like when you talk about recruiting crises in like America and Britain and Canada and stuff like that, if you actually, I know multiple people in all those countries who have tried to get into the military there and have gotten turned down. So it might be certain specialized roles they're having that issue. Um, but they do definitely turn people away, and it's largely to meet DEI targets. Because I mean, like, let's think about this: who's the most likely to want to serve in the army? It's young males, probably with somewhat conservative values, who want to serve their country or want to go on an adventure or want to shoot guns or stuff like that. Like that's the people who want to serve in the army because they want an adventure, they want to learn how to shoot guns, they like the idea of learning a skill of discipline, um stuff like that. I don't know, it's just the entire I don't know, the whole premise of female soldiers is just really gross. um I don't know. It's just women just aren't physically built for it, nor do I really think they're mentally built for it. Um, and I just don't get why it's necessary. There's a large enough male population to deal with these issues. I think the issue is like women. So women tore up their half of the social contract, but men were expected to maintain theirs. And I guess there are people, I guess, on our side who want them to do that. But like, okay, for those of you who are like listening, who are the people you know who signed up to join the military or were considering joining the military? They were probably white guys who were at least centrist, probably somewhat conservative, who thought it was cool. Like my understanding is the core of the US Army has historically been like white Southern males. And I mean, the UK Army was actively banning people with conservative views from joining. And I'm like, or nationalist views. I mean, okay, if we're going to ban like people with nationalist, patriotic, or conservative views from joining the army, who else do you have left? Like, we won't go too much into it, but just gonna bring up the like look like the Russian recruitment ads go hard. Okay. Like I think this one is a good recruitment ad. Here, let me just turn the sound on. So this is how multiculturalism works in Russia. But this is the multiculturalism Russian ad. So we'll see how it compares.
Отче наш, иже еси на небесех, да светится имя Твое, да приидет царствие Твое, да будет воля Твоя, как на небеси и на земле. Хлеб наш насущный дашь к нам днесь.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وسلم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم.
Got the Orthodox soldier, the Buddhist soldier, the Muslim soldier.
Спаси, Господи, люди Твои, и благослови достояние Твое, победы православных христиан на сопротивные отдали. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
So that's the multicultural. Yeah, so they had like a Buddhist, a couple Orthodox Christians, and a couple Muslims. So that is multiculturalism in Russia. To be fair, once again, the Muslim population in Russia, you can like them or dislike them, but it's not like they're a bunch of random invaders. Like they've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years.
This is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems. It begins in California, with a little girl raised by two moms. Although I had a fairly typical childhood, took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. When I was 6 years old, one of my moms had an accident that left her paralyzed. Doctors said she might never walk again. But she tapped into my family's pride to get back on her feet.
Okay, if you're a young male, which ad would make you want to join the military? This?
Имя Твое, да приедет царствие.
Спаси, Господи, люди Твои.
Or this?
Eventually standing at the altar to marry my other mom. With such powerful role models, I finished high school at the top of my class and then attended UC Davis, where I joined a sorority full of other strong women. But as graduation approached, I began feeling like I'd been handed so much in life, a sorority girl stereotype. Sure, I'd spent my life around inspiring women, but what had I really achieved on my own?
I gotta be honest, I've never actually watched this ad before. I just heard about it. This is way worse than I thought it was.
One of my sorority sisters was studying abroad in Italy. Another was climbing Mount Everest. I needed my own adventures, my own challenge. And after meeting with an army recruiter, I found it. A way to prove my inner strength.
Okay, we'll get back. I want to watch the Russian recruitment out. I can't take like too much of that at a time. A Russian Christian army recruitment ad.
I'm U.S. Army Corporal Emma Malone Lord, and I answered my calling.
Это первый день твоей новой жизни. То, что было вчера, не имеет значения. То, кем ты был прежде, уже никого не волнует. Теперь важно то, кем ты будешь сегодня. Что ты знаешь о себе? На что ты способен? Вопросы могут остаться без ответов, но разве ты сможешь потом спокойно спать? Узнать себя, познать границы своих возможностей. К черту границы. Ты готов ломать себя до изнеможения. Каждый день здесь боль закаляет. Шрамы, повседневность. Это ты решил себе что-то доказать. Командир здесь только для того, чтобы ты мог увидеть в нем врага. Потому что без врага нет боя, а без боя нет победы. Но на самом деле, главный враг — это ты. Вчерашний ты. Твоя задача — выследить врага, догнать его, превзойти, стать лучше, чем он, и вернуться назад победителем. Потому что завтра первый день твоей новой жизни.
Another cool ad. Okay, let's look at Brazil.
Exército que tem como missão defender a pátria e, quando convocado, participar de operações de garantia da lei e da ordem.
Este é o Exército Brasileiro de hoje.
Okay, so the Brazil one is like moderate.
200 mil homens e mulheres trabalhando juntos. Irmãos de farda. A liberdade divididos em 8 comandos. Respeitamos a arte de todo.
Okay, so the Brazil one's someone in the middle.
Para manter aquele que é.
But not as bad as the US one.
Basta. Para-se para atender agora.
Just skipping ahead.
Colabora para o em defesa da nação. É o Exército Brasileiro. Braço forte, mão amiga.
Okay, Serbia. Okay, once again, this looks like a match. Okay, the Serbian one's pretty cool. I do like that some of these don't really make it look like it's glamorous or easy, but it does make it look like it's a challenge, and that if you succeed, you're gonna be like a stronger person, and that appeals to.
Emredersiniz komutanım.
Koş kalk! Kalk kalk kalk kalk kalk kalk kalk kalk kalk! Herkes ön bahçeye toplansın. İçtima var.
The guys in the Turkish ad are whiter than the American one.
Dikkat! Evet arkadaşlar. Az sonra çok önemli yerlerden üst düzey misafirlerimiz burada olacak. Sizden Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri'ni en iyi şekilde temsil etmenizi istiyorum. Anlaşıldı mı arkadaşlar?
Aileleri ev hasret giderebilsinler diye de her gün.
Okay, let's see what Italy's is like. Okay, we got the woman. Okay, the Italian one is like okay. Okay, let's see the Chinese one.
专列动员大会现在开始。
一声道，是一句承诺。
军长同志，一方前准备完毕，请指示。什么？战！
一声道，是一种割舍。一声道，是一次重塑。
海上、空中、陆上各作战机组已修订完善作战计划。
一声道。
Okay, I mean that looks cool. Like, Italy has to be in the top 5 for most attractive women. I don't think it's a question, really. The UK is weird. So I find with the UK, the most attractive women in the UK are probably like the top on Earth, but the average is really bad. Sorry to describe.
我们用忠诚筑起长城，改革强军，征途如
It
虹。
honestly, it looks like a Command and Conquer opening cutscene.
历史告诉我们，改革创新与时俱进，是人民军队不断发展的康庄大道。人民军队的力量来自改革创新。 人民军队的胜利来自改革创新。
祖国召唤，我必到。一生到，一生到。
I'm gonna be honest, I think that was the best one. At least it looked like the most like an action movie. Okay, let's see here. What other country should we look at? You know what? Let's look at Israel. Let's see what the Jewish state has.
השוטרים שלנו, הביטו בהם ותהיו בטוחים. תהיו בטוחים שאותו השוטר שמגיש יד לעזרה ידע מתי הזמן לאכיפה קשוחה. תהיו בטוחים שאותה השוטרת תטפל ברגישות בריב קשה. ורגע לאחר מכן תתמודד באומץ.
Okay, this is gay already. Let's look up another one.
When each soldier drafts, they receive the spirit of the IDF, a document defining their values as soldiers. Purpose, loyalty, human dignity. To be an IDF soldier means plenty of different responsibilities. Being a hard worker, being supportive, being strong, being confident,
being a strong,
leader.
independent woman. Okay, this is really gay.
Day or night, rain or shine, our soldiers serve on the ground, in the air, at sea, and wherever necessary. They swear to do everything in their power to protect their family.
Okay, that was really gay. Let's look at see if there's some other ones. Let's take a look at Singapore. All right, this looks cool already.
What do I want? I want to be myself. I want to find my own path. I want work trips that feel like holidays. I want a desk job, but not be desk bound. Am I asking for too much? I want a sense of adventure, growth, purpose. I want targets that hit different. I want to be a team player and leader at the same time. I want to try this. Okay, maybe not this. I want to make decisions that matter. I want my office to rinse.
Okay, that was bad, but I don't think it was it wasn't paused. It was just kind of bad in my opinion.
Guess what? My office just got one of these.
Why stay at the office, Stefan? My team goes go-karting. Guess who's always number one?
Sounds easy, what? Just driving.
Hey, you should see my 6 skills, bruh.
Nah, when it comes to having fun, it's not all about me. I make sure everyone's included. Recently, I brought my team overseas for a...
What's with the tone of these? It's like, join the army, it's like fun.
Summer, show them the world and make new friends, you know? We keep things interesting around the office.
My office has a rooftop with a view. My team hangs there all the time. They're super tight.
Well, my team does everything together. Last week, we went clubbing at this lit new place.
Okay, this is really, I don't know. It's mildly gay. It's more just like weird.
Join the Navy? You must be crazy. Crazy to get up every day before the sun does. Crazy to swim more laps in the open ocean than any elite athlete. Crazy to run miles with half your body weight strapped to your back. Crazy to practice weapon drills 30 hours a week with the hope of never having to fire once. Crazy to spend months at a time out at sea, shrugging off storms and staring down threats. Crazy to lay your life on the line and in the hands of those who are as crazy as you are. Crazy. Until you consider the alternative. Leaving the world's most improbable island nation defenseless in the water.
Okay, it's getting
pretending threats do not surround us. Forgetting that the sea is our lifeline, our first line, and our last line of defense. In a world that's spiraling out of control, we are the sane. We are the sensible. We are accountable for Singapore's safety and sovereignty. If you have the guts, the grit,
okay,
the guts.
Okay, that's Aura. That's Aura.
The grit, the heart. We have the reason.
Okay, the only gay part is that it's a girl.
It's not crazy. It's the Navy.
Okay, that one wasn't bad. That one was pretty good, to be honest. Okay, let's see here, British.
Where does confidence come from? How you look?
Hey, little man, look at me. This could be you in just.
What is that? Is this a Michael Bay movie? What the fuck? Okay, sorry.
Where does confidence come from? How you look?
Hey, little man, look at me. This could be you in just 6 weeks. Guarantee results fast. Get rid with my workout plan. It's the case guarantee.
Quick hits?
Yes, brother. You are coming out tonight. Absolute belter. Just a quick drink for the road, my man.
Oh, this is mad, man. Are you feeling it? It's so good to see you.
Fast fashion?
What's up, my man? You already know what it is, and today, well, I'm busting some fresh heat. Take those dusty craps off your feet, man. Nah? Okay, this is the hottest drop of the year. Don't forget to subscribe.
Instant likes?
Come on, mate. Nearly there.
Lots of things can give you confidence for a little while. But confidence that lasts a lifetime? There's one place you'll find that.
Wow, that was terrible. It was atrocious. Okay, let's see here.
So, you can fix a board, then you can fix a bike. And if you can fix a bike, then you can fix a car. If you can fix a car, then you can learn to fix a Lynx Mark 8 helicopter, a Pacific 24C boat, a 4.5-inch naval gun, a Samson radar system, or a Type 45 destroyer. And when you can fix all that, you'll be a Royal Navy engineer. Start your journey. Search Royal Navy.
That one's not bad.
Oh, flashlight.
My internet's having problems, it looks like.
Said my first word at 1. Kicked off the stabilizers at 4. United mad by 7. Bored at 11. First black iron girlfriend at 14. I left school at 16. Broke my arm, broke the bank. 18, about nights in the castle. But then I stopped pulling pints and started pushing myself. I upped my game, made a leap. I learned.
Does literally everybody in the UK have a dysfunctional childhood? Like, is literally everybody in that country a fucking degenerate or a delinquent?
Think on my feet and off them. I put my life in the hands of others and held their lives in mine. I left home. I wrote home. I found a new home. I did things I never dreamed I would and overcame things I never thought I could. The elements, the distance, the fears, doubts, and all 7 continents.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Okay, here's some pause. This looks good.
I used to hate going to work. Now, I love it. Goodbye 224 bus. Hello 224 patrol vessel. I swap 4 buses a day for 4 countries a month. Best commute ever. I was born in Liverpool, but I was made in the Royal Navy.
Right then, that's the interview over with. Let me show you around. This is where the action happens. The great thing about this job, every day is different. It's our new piece of kit. Good enough. Help yourself to water. It's free. It can be hard work here, but we know how to have a laugh. So then, when can you start?
Modu's story?
It all comes down to this basic question. Can I improve me? We are all, in various ways, self-seeking, lacking in courage, lacking in wisdom, but there is this urgent
Fuck, my internet's bad.
feeling that I must improve me. Now you may say, I need some help in this process. All right. Mind over mind. You will begin to find out that learning is good for you, and the great things that you do are really happenings. That seems to be something like progress.
Dude, we're still using copper internet where I live. Anyways, I think that's good. I should get to bed soon. I have work in the morning, so God bless everyone. Thanks for joining in.